Hey guys, so today I have swatches of a new collection from Essie. This is the Serene Slates collection. So I don't have a ton of information on this. I feel like, and I'm gonna talk a little bit here, so I'll put a timestamp of when the swatches start if you don't want to listen to me. So I feel like Essie has a habit sometimes of advertising new collections like way before anybody can find them, and then not giving a lot of information about actual release dates, whether they're exclusive to certain countries, whether the collection is larger in some countries than other ones, and they just kind of like leave everybody in the dark, and it's a little annoying. Like if you go to an Essie post about this collection right now, especially, like almost every single comment is, or I guess a large majority of the comments are people saying that they can't find them and they don't know anything about them, where do they get them, and they're just silence, crickets. So I have 9 polishes here. I have heard that they're not 9, it's not a 9-piece collection in every country, so I don't have a ton of information on that. Essie's not really giving out a ton of information, but I have 9 polishes that I found on a freestanding display in the very back of a Walgreens, like towards the wall, almost hidden. So that's where I found these 9 polishes here all together, and I will get into the swatches. So the first polish is called Press Pause, and this is a very, very, very light gray. I still have OPI's My Boyfriend Scales Walls sitting next to me from when I did the kale polished video. So it actually almost makes the Essie look a little bit blue in comparison, but in general, I would definitely say that the Essie is much less white looking than My Boyfriend Scales Walls is. So this one is a bit sheer on that first coat. I guess it's more streaky than sheer. I just did the swatches for these yesterday, so I do remember very well that this definitely dried a bit more sheer than it applied. And this wide brush definitely helps with evening the streaks out as well. And then the rest of them do kind of even out as it dries. You're still going to get some patches though. And good formula on this one. I just finished doing all of the ILNP swatches, that video, which was like the longest video of my life. And so this feels a little bit thin compared to those, but I wouldn't say that it's too thin. I think it's just because I jumped from one type of polish to another. So this one does build up pretty nicely on that second coat. I'm going to let this dry completely before I call it, because I did need 3 for my swatch pictures. And looking at this in person, it's definitely leaning more bluish to me. And that first coat definitely dried more sheer than it applied. So I'm going to let that dry before I decide whether to do a third coat or not, because I did need one yesterday. So I am going to do a third coat here. I only let this dry for 2 minutes. That's like usually what I do for swatch videos. But even in those 2 minutes, I had some streaks starting to form on some of my nails. I'm going to cover those up. If I remember correctly, this is the only one that I needed 3 coats for. So the rest of these polishes should go a little more smoothly. Not that 3 coats is a bad thing. I have just been filming for a very long time today, and I'm ready for some 2-coaters. So that is 3 coats of Press Pause. The next polish is called Mindful Meditation, and this is a just slightly pinkish looking neutral shade. So this one is very opaque on that first coat. Like, I did this yesterday, but I'm still kind of surprised at how well that looks right now. I am going to do 2 coats just because I feel like I should, and I feel like this is going to dry a little bit more sheer, but we'll see. Yeah, I have a few spots there from overworking that one, so I am going to need 2. Good formula on this one as well, like really, really smooth. If you have very, very careful application, I don't know, never mind. My pointer finger is already starting to dry with some streaks on it. I was going to say you could probably get away with 1, but I take that back. So this one did dry more sheer than it applied. It dried with a few more streaks and darker spots than it had when it was wet. I also think it dried a little bit darker in general than it is when it's wet as well. But that does not negate how fantastically opaque this was on the first coat for being such a lighter color. So that is 2 coats of Mindful Meditation. The next polish is called Wireless is More, and this is a kind of dusty, let's call it dusty pink. I feel like it could be considered like a little bit purple as well. There's a word for that. I just can't think of it right now. And this has a pink shimmer in it as well. So this one is also pretty opaque on the first coat. It's, I mean, definitely not like 1 coater. I can still see my nail line. But for a polish that has shimmer in it, usually those tend to be more on the sheer side just because you need the shimmer to stand out. So this is nice. This is still only going to need 2 coats. And a good formula on this one as well. I do think, I mean, the shimmer is still very noticeable, but I do think it's more subtle than it is in the bottle, which is usually how shimmers work, because a lot of the shimmer sticks to the side of the bottle. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. I do feel like that shimmer stands out a bit more once it's completely dry, though. And this also dries a bit dull, so you will want top coat. So that is 2 coats of Wireless is More. The next polish is called Serene Slate, and this is almost like a slightly taupe-ish gray. It has like a little bit of brown to it. So this one is just a little bit sheer on that first coat. It covers very evenly. I can just see a few like lighter spots. This, it doesn't look very jelly-ish, but it almost just slightly has like a little bit of a jelly-ish feel to it. Not enough to make any difference. It's still going to look like a cream once it's built up. And good formula on this one as well. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. This is another one that I do feel like dries a little bit darker than it applies. And it dries pretty shiny, but you should probably wear top coat anyway. So that is 2 coats of Serene Slate. I guess I probably could have described this as a slate color, since it's right in the name. The next polish is called Toned Down, and this is a kind of gray-blue cream. So this one is pretty much exactly like Serene Slate. It feels slightly jelly-ish. There are a few light spots, but the formula is identical. And I'm assuming that this will dry a little bit more sheer than it applies. So this one actually didn't seem to dry with any more streaks or darker or lighter, whatever, spots, see-through spots on it than it had when it was wet. So I stand corrected there. I was expecting it because that's what I've seen in the other polishes, but pretty much the same. It does dry a little bit darker than it applies though. So that is 2 coats of Toned Down. The next polish is called On Mute, and this is a darker gray. Here it is next to Serene Slate, so you can see the difference. So this one is very nicely opaque on that first coat, and I'm going to be a broken record here, but I really like these wide brushes on Essie polishes. This is not 100% opaque for me. I do have some very mild, lighter sections, so I'm going to do a second, and good formula on this also. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess I can't really say because it all depends on your application, but I don't think you'd be able to get this opaque in 1 coat, not when the bottle's brand new anyway. But at the same time, I guess it's entirely possible, so I don't know. This dries a little bit dull, so you will want top coat. So that is 2 coats of On Mute. The next polish is called Generation Zen, and this is a slightly purpley brown shade. So this one is a little bit streaky on that first coat. It almost seems just slightly jelly-ish like the other ones, and this is a much thinner coat on this nail, so you can really see through it. Good formula on this one as well. So this one does cover completely on 2 coats. I think a few of the darker shades in this collection, yeah, and some of the medium ones as well, you could probably get away with 1 coat if you really wanted to, but this, for being a darker shade, for sure needs 2. So that is 2 coats of Generation Zen. The next polish is called Gadget-free, and this is a silver metallic, and it's showing very like truly silver on camera, but in person it has just a slight, almost purpley tint to it. So this one is actually looking pretty opaque on camera. I can see a few light spots here in person, so it is going to need 2 coats. There are some brush strokes when that's wet, so I'll see how those look when it dries, because I don't remember. Good formula on this one. I'm just trying to do those brush strokes as straight as possible in case they don't go away as it dries. So this one, it does cover completely in 2 coats. And those brush strokes actually faded pretty nicely as it dried. The polish does dry a bit dull though, so you will want top coat. So that is 2 coats of Gadget-free. And the last polish is called Cause and Reflect, and this is a shimmery, just slightly green-blue. I wouldn't go as far as to call this a teal, but I think it's very close. It's also very opaque on that first coat. Just a few light spots. Shimmer is nice and smooth too, even when it's wet there really aren't any brush strokes through it, maybe a few. Formula is very good on this as well. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. I do think this is a polish where you might be able to get away with 1 if you really wanted to. There are a few brush strokes through that shimmer when it's wet, but those do go away as it dries. and the polish does dry a little bit dull, so you will want top coat. So that is 2 coats of Cause and Reflect. So I'm definitely going to prefer the lighter shades in this collection, Mindful Meditation and Press Pause, just because I just like these colors better. And this time of year, I like the lighter neutrals. I feel like it's a good transition into spring. The end of the year, the first half of the winter, I like the darker colors, but then I like the lighter neutrals when we get into the second half of winter. So those 2 are going to be my favorite. So that is the Essie Serene Slates collection. Again, I found those in Walgreens. I haven't found them anywhere online as of right now, so hopefully they'll be popping up soon. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later. Bye.